Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We are celebrating Black History Month today, this month, which is February, and we are going to be reading some books about some amazing African Americans in history, and some of them you may have heard of, and some of them you may have not. But today we're going to start off with a story about a guy named Chester. And this is called Follow Chester. What do you think Chester does? Do you think he's a swimmer? No. Do you think he's a painter? No. Do you think he's a football player? Maybe. Yeah. This is Follow Chester. A college football team fights racism and makes history. And this is by Gloria Respress Churchwell and illustrated by Laura Freeman. So this is a true story. Let's meet Chester. One summer when Chester Pierce was about 8, his younger brother fell down a well. Could you imagine? That's really true. That truly happened. Chester quickly threw down a chain, and with a friend's help, he pulled his brother up. News traveled fast in the small town of Glen Cove, New York, about Chester's brave act, and he became a local hero. But Chester still lacked confidence. He felt like he was too skinny, and he definitely didn't think he was as handsome as his two brothers. Poor guy. Chester loved football and basketball and music. He played the piano, the accordion, and the trumpet. He became his high school's first Black senior class president. Chester applied to Harvard University with encouragement from his teacher, and the principal doubted he'd get in, but Chester had to try. And with hard work, he was accepted. Chester played varsity football at Harvard. His team was scheduled to play the University of Virginia in Charlottesville, Virginia. It was 1947, and colleges in the South didn't allow Black students. Jim Crow laws kept Black and white people separate. The University of Virginia coaches thought Harvard wouldn't bring Chester. But Jackie Robinson had just broken the color barrier to become the first Black person on a Major League Baseball team. Harvard knew that the United States was slowly changing. Chester's coach pulled him aside and said, "Get ready. You're going with us to the University of Virginia. You deserve to play." Chester understood that being the first Black person to do something was never easy. Jackie Robinson had been spat on and called horrible names. At Harvard, Chester was called names by some white students, but he didn't let that stop him. He thought about what his coach said about deserving to play. He had to stay confident. Chester's teammates understood that he was nervous, and they wanted to help. "We're with you, Chester, no matter what," they said. "Jim Crow laws are wrong," another teammate said. Someone else threw down his helmet. "People shouldn't try to divide us. We're one team," another protested. Chester knew the best way to fight was with his mind. He had an idea about how to stand up to racism. "Let's create a special play for on and off the field. Whenever we use the play, it means we act as one," Chester said. "Great idea. Let's call it Follow Chester," someone called out. The night before they left for Virginia, Chester was still uneasy. He knew that talking to his mom would help. She listened and replied, "I know you'll do your best, Chester. If your dad were still alive, he would want you to stare down all adversity with courage." Chester's confidence grew stronger. The bus ride to University of Virginia was long. Chester gazed out the window as the bus crossed the Mason-Dixon line, which was the cultural boundary between North and South. The Harvard bus pulled into a service station late in the evening, and Chester and his teammates came face to face with a restroom sign that read "Whites Only." They needed to use the bathroom. They stood uncomfortably on one foot, then on the other. Chester started walking towards the woods. Someone yelled, "Follow Chester." If Chester couldn't use the bathroom, then none of them would. That's what teammates are supposed to be like, right? The Virginia coach met the bus. "We thought you wouldn't bring the Black player. He can't sleep in any hotel, and he's sure not staying here," he said to the Harvard coach. Chester and his teammates heard every word. Chester's coach wouldn't take no for an answer, and neither would the team. After a lot of pressure, the University of Virginia provided housing for Chester. His teammates stayed with him. They stood together. Another roadblock appeared the next morning. Black people weren't allowed through the front door of restaurants in Charlottesville. Chester led the march around to the back of the restaurant. "Follow Chester," the players shouted. White patrons watched through the window with open mouths. Game day arrived, and in the locker room, Chester told his teammates, "No matter the final score, we have already won." The stadium was full. The first Black player was about to play against the University of Virginia on their home turf. Even Time magazine showed up to cover the historic game. Black fans sat in a segregated section, and they applauded as Harvard came onto the field. But many of the University of Virginia fans booed. Chester's jersey, number 70, gently flapped in the wind. He and his teammates marched to the center of the field. The breeze was at their backs. There were faint cheers and some horrible, horrible shouts. Chester turned and faced the Black crowd. He looked up at the clear blue sky. He thought about his family and his team, and Chester raised his right hand proudly as he saluted the Black fans. They stood and clapped even louder. Chester took a deep breath. Confidence. Chester crouched on defense. He looked into the eyes of the huge offensive lineman. "You've got some nerve coming here, you," the offensive lineman started to say. The referee's whistle blew. The lineman stepped forward, thrusting his shoulders. With perfect timing, Chester faked a move to the right and one to the left. The player plunged face first into the grass, and Chester stood over him. The game went on and on. The University of Virginia had a big lead over Harvard with only seconds left. Before the University of Virginia quarterback could complete a pass, Chester grabbed him and plunged him to the ground with a hard thud. The Black fans and the Harvard sideline cheered, but the whistle blew and the game was over. Chester Pierce, with confidence, made history that day. Harvard lost, but courage stood up to adversity, and that was the real victory. And that is the end of Follow Chester. If you like this book, you can borrow it from the library, and there's lots more facts in the back and even a picture. There is Chester with his Harvard teammates. That's the real Chester. I hope you enjoyed this story, and we'll see you next time for another great one. Bye.